Middle Tennessee.
One street over there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I have today.
Just as soon as we started getting that little nip in the air, because I'm ready for it. I'm ready for fall. I'm ready for the trees to turn. Kaleb Stratton's in the house. Aren't you? Aren't you ready for fall? I know you're just so happy to see it cooler, so people are not on the lake and the rivers.
You know, a buddy of mine sent me a message yesterday, and it was a picture of him on his boat, and they were wakeboarding, and I'm like, "Are you stupid? Like, what?
It's cold.
What are you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
He did. He said water temperature was 69 degrees. I'm like, "You're crazy, man.
No, thank you.
Get off the water. Lake's closed. Sorry.
That's right. Lake's closed. I
Loose
love
out
it.
front. Should have told you."
Wildlife resource. Lake's closed. Go home. Go home. I love it. Well, and and it's just one of those things. I think about you guys all through the summer because I know from what you've told me and the things, the stories that you tell me about the nonsense that goes on our lakes sometimes because people get out there. And I love what Nate Bargatze says about it. He goes, I hate going on the lake. I hate going on the boats. He goes, it's either a bunch of drunks or teenagers driving.
Yep.
That's just the funniest thing. And he's right. He's right, it seems like. But I just think that is hysterical. But anyway, but that's kind of the thing. I'm not a boater. For those who are, my son is. My son and my daughter-in-law, him and his bride, they love to go out on the water. And, but I don't get it. I really don't, but that's all right. So hunting season. It's hunting season. We're in bow season, right?
Yep.
We're in bow season.
Full swing.
I've been seeing the little deer running around my yard waiting to be harvested. It's hard for me, though, because I've just never shot an animal. I'm just not the hunter kind, but I like meat. So I could probably kill a chicken if I had to. But, we did as kids,
right,
but I have some of my nightmares as a child was some of where they wring the necks and they'd run and there's blood splurting everywhere. That's when they would kill, 100 chickens at a time, Anyway, Kaleb Stratton, he is oh my goodness, I didn't rehearse. I was like, okay, you're the district sergeant.
Yep, you got it. First
it.
try.
I got it. Good deal. I have to think. I have so many things in my head that I have to remember. But he is our district sergeant, and then Jason Sharpton.
Shapton, yep.
Shapton. I wanted to put that R in there, but it's Shapton. And he
Not like the Reverend.
yeah. He is our wildlife resource officer, and he was in here last time for you. Where were you last time?
I don't even know.
You don't even know. Just off goofing off, probably.
Somewhere
Goofing off. But we've got you in here for a half hour. Got Bill Jones coming in here. Let me just kind of, I haven't had Bill. I'm always trying to find a place to bring Bill in because everybody loves to hear from Bill Jones. He is the local historian. He knows everything about Robertson County. And he's just fun to talk to. Weatherman. I mean, he's just the ham operator. And he also wrote an article, and I think it's very, very timely. He goes, well, did you read my article? Why Christians should vote? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're perfect. That is exactly what we need to be talking about. Have I perused it? Yes, I have, Bill, but I have not had a chance to read it word for word. I've been just running like a chicken with my head cut off. But it's a good, just the overall theme of what he wrote. Yes, we've got to be active during this season of election. and it's hard because you get so frustrated with it. But Christians, we got to stand up for, for what God wants us to support. And, we'll talk more about that with Bill. But he's coming up 7:30. So what say you? What do we need to talk about today?
Like we talked about, deer season's in full force. So when deer season's in full force, that means mating season is coming up in full force for deer. So I've getting a lot of calls about deer hit on roads and highways. So just keep your eyes open, obviously, especially early mornings, late evenings. They're going to be running all the time. But we've had I've seen a lot of dead deer laying on the side of the road here lately. So obviously keeping your eyes open for that so your insurance doesn't go up.
I didn't realize that mating season coincided with hunting season. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we, because you don't want to when you're hunting animals. There's different things. Obviously, we're gonna hunt the deer right now. The bucks have their antlers on. In the summertime, the mamas are raising the babies, so you don't want to hunt stuff during that time really. Plus, the bucks don't have their antlers and stuff like that. So yeah, we try to normally about for the majority, most of our hunting seasons are based around mating seasons.
Oh, okay.
Much, yeah.
I never realized that. And so the theory is that the babies are old enough now that if the mom is harvested.
Oh, they're fine. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. They're still hanging out with each other, but if
Bambi traumatized me as a child. I'll just tell you right now, Bambi traumatized me as a child. I just
if the adults are harvested, then
yeah,
this past year's fawns are fine. Yeah, they're good to go.
Yeah, and and again, I love steak. I love meat. Venison's good stuff, and it is what we need to do, and we do not need them overrunning our farms.
And they already are.
And they are absolutely overrunning the farms. The reason why I quit gardening is because I couldn't keep them out of my garden. And I've thought about going to a greenhouse type gardening because I really like to raise, fresh vegetables. And so I may do some kind of a greenhouse or something just so I can keep the dad blamed deer out of it because there's so many of them. And if my kids would come and, as they say, harvest a deer on my property, then that would be good. And there's really hardly any limit because that's what blows my mind about deer season. People don't realize how many you can harvest. Now, you can only get so many bucks. How many bucks?
2.
2 bucks for the entire season. But as far as the does, how many?
3 a day, so upwards of 300.
My goodness.
For the year, so it's essentially unlimited.
That is crazy. I mean, that truly is. That is truly unlimited when you think about how many does can be.
I mean, I don't know anybody that's ever come close to that. So other than on a deer permit or something where they're trying to eradicate deer, but
right.
Something else that's been on the news. Actually, I think we did a news release on it. But there's our commission is trying to do a little proposal about upping our license cost this year a little bit. I don't know how much it'll be. I can't remember. It's not much, but every time stuff goes up, everybody complains. And I think they said inflation's gone up 32% since the last time we raised our license fees.
Oh wow!
And we don't do it often. I mean, since I've been alive, I think this agency's only raised license prices is 3 times, in 40 years. I mean, it's not something they do very often at all. But that will make sure that'll make everything go up. And again, a lot of people complain about that, and I understand because I don't want to spend more money either. But when you look at the opportunity that Tennessee gives you for wildlife and fishing and hunting, it's like no other state.
True.
I mean, you're not going to go to any other state and be able to harvest that amount of deer. Even in Kentucky, just right above us, yes, for their residents, their licenses are a little bit cheaper, but they only get $1 a year.
Oh, really?
$1 and then 1 or 2 does, I think, and then they can purchase additional deer, I think, maybe.
You have to. I had forgotten about that, but yeah.
And then just with the species of fish we have and stuff like that, I mean, you're not going to get any better fishing anywhere in the country other than in Tennessee as far as the species and the opportunity. It's just our licenses give you more opportunities than any other state.
Well, and this is something that Jason and I talked about last month, is I didn't realize that fishing is something you can do through the winter.
Oh yeah.
And I never really, because that's one of the biggest things. My oldest grandson loves to fish, but he also loves all the sports. And so he's playing baseball and he's doing all the things. And so we've had a really hard time getting him on the creek to do any fishing. And Jason said, well, let him fish this winter.
Yep.
I was like, really? And I really had no idea.
Well, the fish don't mind.
Yeah. Well, see, and I just never even thought about it being a good time to fish. And so I'm going to really, look into that. And this winter, we're going to do some fishing on that creek to let him,
Fishing's year round.
Yeah.
24/7, 365,
See, and that blew my mind. I really kind of always thought it had to be not winter, but well, then you have the trout that y'all put in.
Right.
So when is that? That's coming up, isn't it? That
I'll look that up here in just a second.
Yeah, because we're going to have the where they put the trout in.
Yeah,
and I really want him to take advantage of that, but I have to take
the
him to
winter
school to do it.
winter stocking program. Oh, and hey, some people do. It's
I can't. I'm a school teacher, and
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I can't do it. His daddy might could get away with it, but that's a cool thing, and I think that's just neat being able to do that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But we'll talk about that in just a minute. But right now we're in bow season, and that continues really until about Thanksgiving, and that's when rifle. No, you got muzzle loader,
right? But now bow. I mean, you can hunt with a bow from
now on.
Yeah, right. From the time it opens in September, it opens September 28th this year. You can hunt with a bow from September 28th all the way through January till deer season closes. Actually, this weekend is actually the youth deer hunt. So that's a rifle. They can use a bow, rifle, muzzleloader, whatever they want.
Okay.
So that'll be the 26th and the 27th this week.
Okay,
this
so
weekend,
my grandson could harvest a deer out of my place.
He can, yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go, boys. That's a thought. That's a thought right there.
But now it is a little bit different this year. Normally, when we have the juvenile hunt, the very next weekend is opening a muzzleloader. That's not correct for this year. So the juvenile hunt is this weekend, the 26th and 27th. Next, and there's no bow hunting. The hunting guide, sometimes people get confused because they don't read it fully. But during the juvenile hunt, nobody's allowed to hunt except for juveniles.
Oh,
Adults can't hunt with a bow or anything.
Okay.
So it's closed to all hunting except for juveniles on the 26th and 27th. It'll open right back up on the 28th for archery season. So historically, muzzleloader season would have opened next weekend, the 2nd, November 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not going to open until November 9th.
Okay. So we've got this weekend's the youth hunt, and then next
you skip a weekend. It's just back open to regular bow season.
And then the next weekend then will be
muzzleloader. The 9th, and then 2 weeks from that, on the 23rd, will be rifle opening.
Rifle open up. So that's right before Thanksgiving this year.
It's always so that's kind of how they do it. Is rifle season is based off of Thanksgiving. It always opens the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay. So if Thanksgiving's early, it's early. If it's late,
so it's late this year. It's on the 28th this year.
Right.
Thanksgiving's on the 28th. So you back up. That's Thursday the 28th. The Saturday before is the 23rd.
And I really don't know why Thanksgiving moves. I mean,
I think this year it has to do with leap year. It screwed everything up. I think.
Yeah, I don't really understand why Thanksgiving is. Sometimes it's like the third Thursday, and sometimes it's the fourth. It's just like it's confusing. But I'm sure somebody. I bet Bill will know.
Probably so.
Bill Jones will be in here in a minute. He'll know. He knows all those things. But hunting seasons, I'm really hoping my kids will get out and take advantage of it, because that's now for them to hunt. That's one of the things my kiddos. They can hunt because they're my sons on my property without a license.
Correct.
Yeah. So, but my grandson, because his Mimi and his papa bought him a lifetime license.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter anyway. Yeah,
for everything. Him and his brother and sister all have lifetime license. I think that's just such a sweet legacy. But
I just bought mine for my little boy the other day for the 3-year-old.
Awesome. Yeah, because you
don't almost forgot. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually at the office working on the 11th. His birthday.
I gotta get that done.
His birthday is the 12th, and so he'll be turned 3 on the 12th. I was at the office on the 11th, just sitting at the office, and I was like, oh no.
You have to do it before they're 3.
Yeah. If I would have waited another day, I would have been out of luck.
So how much is it for the lifetime?
Well, right now it's $300 if they're under 3.
Okay.
So, but that's going to go up. Probably, maybe.
Okay.
We'll have to wait and see.
But I'm going to have to, since I got 3 grandkids with that, I'm going to have to probably see about doing it for the other ones, because they'll be jealous.
Yep.
They'll be like, how come they've got it and we don't? But, on our property at least, because my grandkids could hunt for free too, right?
Correct. Up until they're 16.
Well, but now would they not be able to hunt?
Oh, no, they've got the...
So if they're on my property, they could hunt because they're my direct line, right?
Well, grandchildren grandchildren get different.
Oh, really? really?
Yeah, hold on. I'll
Okay,
pull
so it's
it up in
only
a
my
second.
children, not my grandchildren. Oh,
Correct.
I didn't know that.
Well,
I just kind of assumed.
hold on a minute. I was looking
But
that up.
yeah, we've got some of the Hispanic kids that are in our at school, and we tell them, you're supposed to have a license to fish, and they're so we'll just tell them we're your kid. Sure. I think they know our kids, but we've had a couple of our Hispanic because they like to come fishing and stuff, and they're like, we'll just tell them we're your kids. And it's funny, but it's like, gotta get a license, kiddos. Gotta get a license.
That was right. It's grandkids under the age of 16. So it's
so once they're over
16, they gotta have
a license even on our property. Okay,
Mhm.
good to know. Well, and so what about the kiddos that are going to participate in the youth hunt this weekend? Do they have to have a license?
Well, it just depends on how old they are. So for the youth hunt, it's youth 6 through 16.
Okay.
So you don't have to have a license.
If you're 6 through 16.
Well, you do up until you don't have to have a license till you're 13.
Till you're 13.
Yep.
So the youth hunt covers 6 to 16, and so
Right.
if you're under 13, you wouldn't have to have a license.
Correct.
But 13 to 16, you're qualifying for the youth hunt, but you've got to have your license.
Correct.
Okay, did I get that right?
Yes.
There's a lot of details.
It is. It's
Yeah,
a lot.
a lot of detail to it. So where can people go to find all this information?
So you can go to our website, tnwildlife.org, or just Google TWRA, whatever.
Right.
All Walmarts have all of our hunting guides.
Oh, good.
You can call. If you see me out, I've got a box of them in my truck.
Okay.
I try to keep them in there.
You're going over this with Mark's had you come in and start doing the.
I normally would have been there today, but they're doing school pictures today, so
yeah,
I'm gonna go tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's the thing. The being able to bring that back into the schools, I think that is cool. That y'all are doing that now and bringing the hunter safety. He really wants to do the competition.
The NASP archery in the schools.
Yeah, the archery, but I just don't know if he's going to have time. But I mean, he really wants to do that. But it's so many cool things that we can incorporate. What you guys do with wildlife resources in our schools. And Jason talked a lot about what you guys were doing in the libraries, where you now have those backpack checkouts. Where
Yeah, Jason did that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really cool. That's something that our libraries have. I think a lot of people don't realize is you can go in and you can check out these activities, and now you can check out a wildlife resource activity, which is going fishing. And I just think that's really neat that we can do those things, and it's got everything you need, I guess, probably except for your bait. You'd have to get your bait, I
Right.
would imagine. There might be some lures in there.
Yeah, I think there's just bobbers and hooks and weights, and then
that
you
kind of
would
thing. Get you some
get your
worms.
own worms. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think the
crickets.
library wanted to keep worms in there. So
Yeah. Well, you could have like the little gummy thingies.
yeah.
I suppose. What else? Okay, let me do a break here, and then we'll come back, and you can talk to me about the trout.
Well, they haven't released a schedule
haven't
yet.
given the
That's what I was just
schedule.
looking.
Okay,
I
that's what you were
didn't.
looking
They don't
for?
have the schedule out yet. So.
Okay. Well, we can go ahead and do our break. Let's talk
We'll be able to
racing.
talk about it
Are you
next
still involved with racing? You still racing? Are you still Bub About Broke?
Yeah, a
Y'all
little
still
bit.
doing all that?
I don't have a lot of time to go to the shows much anymore
Yeah.
with soccer and kids and
Yeah.
all that. But yeah, we're actually racing at Nashville Fairgrounds here in a couple weeks in a really, really big race. So
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Well,
lots going on with my buddy racing. So
and we're about to wrap up here at Veterans Motorplex at the
they're about
Rim.
done. Yeah.
They're just about done for the season. They race through the end of October. I wouldn't put it past them to have a race on into November. It just kind of depends. I don't know. This year with all the renovations and all that, I feel like they're going to be done when October turns. And I feel like that'll be it. But now they've gotten they want you to bring the kids out because they're going to have the cars and the candy. They've got the trunk or treat from race cars. And that's always a blast out on the racetrack. And that's this coming Saturday. You're going to want to check that out. That'll happen in the afternoon, right before the gates will open about 4:30. That's when they'll have their time to go out and do the trunk or treat, and then the racing will start at 7. Always a good time on the racetrack, guys. They had a great time this past weekend, great showing, and they just want to invite you to come on out and see one of the final races, unless they decide to, kind of ease on into November or a weekend or two. If the weather holds, sometimes they will, because they've had to miss some. They had some pretty big races that they were planning that they had to miss. And because of weather. So wouldn't put it past them to go a weekend into November, but typically we are getting ready to wrap it up. So get ready to get out to the racetrack. If you've been putting it off all summer long, this is your opportunity to go out to the historic Highland Rim Speedway, Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. Trunk or treat coming up this Saturday. You're not going to want to miss a chance to go trick-or-treating from race cars, y'all. This is the racetrack up at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. It's that quarter-mile, high-bank asphalt bull ring. It looks beautiful out there. They did a bunch of renovations first of the year. A $40 ticket will get your entire family in, unless you got more than 6 kids. You can get up to 6 kids and 2 adults in for a $40 ticket price.
Not bad.
That is a good deal, guys. So come on out to the races. Veterans Motorplex at the Rim, the historic Highland Rim Speedway. Follow them at Highland Rim Speedway in case we have a rain delay, rain cancellation, anything like that. But we are wrapping up the season. Don't miss your opportunity to be a part of all that we have going on at Veterans Motorplex at the Rim. And please always let them know that you turned Cincha, and thank them for being with us. It's hunting season, so there's a lot to know. And the one thing, you explained it to me so well when you were talking about how that as hunting season rolls out, you got bow season, then muzzle loader, and then regular rifle, and all those things. It's just kind of adding to it. Nothing, you can't, it's not like, oh, bow season's over. It's like you said a while ago, you can bow hunt the entire time if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, it's kind of like a snowball effect. So once bow season starts, you can bow hunt. Yeah. Once muzzleloader starts, you can bow hunt and muzzleloader hunt. Mm-hmm. And then once gun season starts, rifle season, you can bow, gun, or muzzleloader. So
I've never been around a muzzleloader gun. I mean, that's like the old time where they, right? And you explained this last year, but explain to people what muzzleloader even means.
So, just like I'm explaining to the kids in class right now, yeah.
Yep.
I tell them all the time our terms are very simple. We were talking about parts of the gun, and I was pointing at the trigger guard, and so I said, what is this right here that guards the trigger? And somebody said trigger guard. I'm like, exactly, it guards the trigger.
Yeah.
Muzzle loader, you load it from the muzzle, just turn it around backwards. Most of our terms, that's what you're going to get. So. Yeah. The muzzle, anything that can be loaded from the muzzle of the gun. Most of that's a single shot. All states are a little bit different. Some, it has to be primitive, so it has to be like the old style. In today's world, in the muzzleloader world, we have what's called inline muzzleloaders, and they're just modern day muzzleloaders, but they're just as accurate as any rifle out there now. Mm-hmm. They've even got them now to where they're called fire sticks. They were illegal in Tennessee. They're now legal, but the cartridge will load from the rear. But you still put the bullet in from the muzzle, so it counts as a muzzle loader still.
Huh.
We changed our term of muzzle loader actually in order to do that. So, but yeah, it's getting almost out of hand. Honestly, it's not primitive anymore at all. Like I said, these muzzle loaders shoot just as far and accurate as any rifle you can buy.
So I mean, do you load just a regular bullet, or is it like when you're watching?
Yeah,
it's like a.
You can. Some of it's a round ball.
Ball.
Yeah, some of it's just a round piece of lead. The older ones.
Really.
These new inline muzzleloaders, like I said, we're not using really. You can still use loose powder, but they're using these pre-made pellets. They're cylindrical, just very small, about a ½ inch or so. You drop those in the barrel. You just drop them; they fall in, and then you take your bullet or projectile, whatever you're going to use, and you set it on the muzzle, and then you have to use what's called a ramrod to push that bullet all the way down till it seats against that powder. But I guess, I don't know, it makes people feel still primitive, I guess, the new inline. So that's what I use because I wouldn't know how to use the old kind anyway,
Right. And I mean, is there, this is one thing, is there a shortage of finding supplies for those as far as gunpowder and
no.
And you don't have any trouble? My husband was looking for some gauge the other day and said didn't have any.
Yeah.
Are there some gauges, or I don't know?
Well, so there's
I'm so not a gun
there's
person.
There's common. I think he has maybe a 16 gauge or something he was talking about.
I don't know.
He said something the other day,
and he couldn't find it, and I was like, I don't know.
But I mean, your most common calibers for muzzleloader, 45 caliber and 50 caliber, so those are going to be readily available. Shotguns, 12 and 20 gauge are your most common.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a 10 gauge or a 16 gauge or a 28 gauge shell, then it may be a little bit harder to find. But for the most part, I mean, it's.
Okay.
I hate to say it, election years. It's election year. It's election time, and all firearm stuff goes out of style. Like it just comes out of stock.
Yeah.
But for right now,
Isn't
normally
weird. I mean, it's like what the heck.
Everybody's scared and they go and buy a bunch of guns. But it's good for the gun people. They make a lot of money.
Stock up.
Yep.
You don't know who's going to be in office.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to take your guns, guys.
But most of the time, it's not hard at all to.
Yeah.
to find ammunition or the parts.
Yeah.
There are times it is. It just depends on what the manufacturer's doing, and obviously all the trading overseas. We get that stuff from everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Because what they say that they can't regulate guns, so they're going to regulate the ammo.
right.
And that's
Or the parts. Regulate the pieces and parts for the ammo, so it makes it hard to get.
It makes it harder to get. And so you just kind of wonder. I mean, and again, I'm not a gun person, so I don't really know. But I respect the heck out of them. I've just never shot that much. And anything that we're missing, I saw Bill come sliding in here just a minute ago. What else are we missing, bud? Anything else we need to cover?
I mean, that was the main thing. I just wanted people, just be aware of the deer and, looking out, for your cars and stuff. And their patterns change with the weather. So, yeah, this cooler weather, you're going to start seeing them more and more. Obviously with the vehicles early in the morning, late in the evening.
Haven't had any go running through a classroom, have you?
No, not since Westside. Yeah, we're good there.
That was hysterical.
My 10 minutes of fame there.
That was funny. That was funny with the deer in the classroom. If you missed it, that video's got to be out there still. Where the
it is.
The
it
deer
was
broke into the classroom and he had to go and get it out of there. It was hysterical. It was funny.
And it wasn't hard. Everybody's like, "How'd you get it out?" I'm like, "I just opened the door and it walked
just
out."
walking out.
Yeah, it ran out. It scared me a little bit.
Scared to death, probably.
Yeah, I was too.
But that's great.
The school nurse came in and put that vomit stuff, over the pee and poop, so it wouldn't smell so bad.
It was funny. It was funny.
funny.
There was one other thing I was going to ask you. I had somebody mentioned the other day. They said that they put those car whistles on their car to keep the deer away from their car. And then my husband said, he goes, I have heard that is not a deterrent, that what it does is it startles them and sometimes they run out in front of you.
That's what I've heard too. I think it's just a ploy. I don't think that stuff works.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. Doesn't have anything to do with the agency or me. It's my opinion.
You don't think they work? Well, somebody was talking
to me, I feel like
it.
they would just stop. Like they hear it and like, oh, what is that? And they turn and look,
Well, see, and that's what he said. And the people were talking, and he didn't want to say anything. And they were like, "Oh, this is great," and he was just like, and he was telling me later on the way home, he goes, "Well, I've heard that it startles them and makes them run out in front of you."
I would just save your money and just pay more attention.
And just there you go. That's the idea. Drive more cautiously, pay more attention. There's no gimmick. It's just the deer. They're in mating season. It's hunting season. They're everywhere. We need to harvest them. You can harvest as many doe as you want in Tennessee. So if you're a hunter, come on. There's people like me that's family says they're going to harvest for them and they never do. And I would love to have some venison in my freezer. I really would. So I would love to have some ground. I just want it ground up. I don't think I want any of the other bit. And turkey. Now, what about turkey? We got a turkey season coming up.
Yeah, that fall season will be in October.
Okay, so that's coming up. Will it be before you get here? Back?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's something we need to mention because you got your turkey season. This is your harvest time for your Thanksgiving bird.
Yeah, because you can't.
Because you can't. You get it right.
During the archery only season, so even not during, not even during the fall turkey hunt, you can kill one incidental. Well, looky here. It's going on right now.
Turkey season.
Yeah.
Okay.
October 12th through the 25th. Look at there.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I thought of it.
I'm glad you did. What is today?
So turkey season is happening. Today is the...
Yeah, it goes through the 25th. Yeah.
Well, today's the 21st, so we've only got a few more days.
Yeah, 21st. Oh, yeah, and that makes sense because it runs until the juvenile hunt, yeah.
Okay, so if you want to harvest
a
turkey,
days,
you better get on out there.
Well, and with that being said, so with a shotgun, that's the last day to do it. Once the juvenile hunt is over on the 27th, during that archery only, which is the 28th through the 1st,
right?
Up until it goes to the 8th. So from October 28th through November 8th, you can kill a turkey with your bow while you're deer hunting.
That just seems impossible.
Yeah. Oh, it's not. It's actually. Well, I won't tell you how I did it one time.
I would just be like, oh my gosh, I think that would be impossible to try to hit one with a bow.
No, it's not hard at all.
Okay, all right. So you said.
So anyway, yeah. So there you go. So if you want to kill one with a shotgun, it goes through Friday.
Okay.
And then after that, once the juvenile hunt's over, you have until November 8th.
Okay.
To harvest one with a bow if you want to.
And as far as the trout release, that won't. When do you speculate the first one will be? Kind of
normally in December.
That's what I thought. So
but I'll be in here again in November before gun season opens.
Because
I'll be back.
Three, aren't there? There are 3 trout release.
Normally, it's changed, but normally the past couple years they do it in December, January, February.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So there will be some trout release, and there's fishing in winter. I didn't know that, and we'll talk to you again before the actual rifle season.
Yeah.
So
I'll
thank
be
you,
back.
Kaleb.
See y'all.
Appreciate you. Have a great day. Tell my hubby I said hi. You go teach those kiddies tomorrow. Anyway, we're going to let Bill make his way in here and talk about why Christians should vote. Very timely topic, and he put this article out just this weekend, so we're going to have him come in here and talk about that. And while he gets comfortable, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my friend Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty. With Exit Prime Realty. Exit Prime Realty. I almost said this, the old name. They were with the Garden Gate team for so many years. People associate them with that. But Barry opened a brokerage office here in town, and then they took the office that is the agency office that Rebecca works with in White House, and they combined those two for Exit Prime Realty to bring you a new branch in the Exit tree. I had said, I've mentioned this a couple of times, that I have a friend from Ukraine. She was a realtor in Ukraine. And Barry and Rebecca are always talking about they love mentoring people. Well, they got her on the phone last night to talk to her about trying to help her find a pathway to becoming a realtor here in America, because it's not looking like she's going to get to go home anytime soon. And I had a conversation with her yesterday about that. And so, I mean, if you've got somebody in your life that you think would benefit from working in real estate, reach out to Barry and Rebecca. There's all kinds of ways. We were actually talking with my friend yesterday, she's in the Cookeville area, about the Exit company. And there was a flyer right there with they're kind of all over. Exit is a big enough company that it covers a wide area. And that's what Rebecca says when she first got into real estate, she was looking for a company that would really have the support and the benefits she needed to go full time. And that's why she went with Exit. But they're part of the Exit family, Exit Prime Realty, Barry and Rebecca Richards. They're right here in Cross Plains. They've been in Cross Plains for nearly 30 years, but they have been all over. They've worked all over. And so they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky, because like me, they're from Kentucky. Barry's the marketer of the bunch, and he is an expert at the cameras and videography and drone footage and walkthrough tours. It's really funny. My friend yesterday, her son's really into videography. And I was like, oh, so that connection right there, maybe that they can help her with real estate and help him come along with some of the videography things he wants to do. But just always working to help the community, to mentor others, to do the things that they want to do. And if it's real estate that you're looking into, if you want to be a realtor, if you got property to buy or sell, whatever it is that you have that you need to get done in the real estate community, Barry and Rebecca, they're here to help you, and you can reach out to Rebecca real easily by calling 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Talk to Barry and Rebecca today. Man, I haven't had Bill in. The show has been packed. And, we've been fortunate, and we've had a lot of people coming in. Well, it's because it's that time of year, there's a lot going on. Yeah. And I had called you last night and I said, hey, as it turns out, I do have an opening tomorrow. Can you come on in? And I'd forgotten about your article that you sent out, Why Christians Should Vote. And you said, had you seen the article? And I've read through it. I haven't had time to read it word for word like I need to. I apologize. I just running like a chicken with my head cut off, but very timely and very accurate, everything I saw in it, because, absolutely we should participate in this. Do you get that question a lot? Do you get that question a lot as somebody that does a lot of teaching, and, you've been around a while, so people look to you as kind of, as kind of to get advice and things like. People ask me for.
We're running out of 80-year-olds.
Are you? No. But it's not a huge group. But
Well, as I've told you before, my forte is Bible research.
Yes.
I research and study, and it's just like this. I got to think, somebody mentioned to me, said, I don't believe in voting. I'm not going to vote. Mm-hmm. And I said myself back a month or two ago, I don't believe I'm going to vote. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, I ought to find out if that's based in God's Word. Mm-hmm. So I did some research, and it isn't based in His Word. So I've learned new things by researching that and studying it. And I'm not promoting anybody or demoting anybody, and I'm not going to get into the fray of arguing about who's right and who's wrong and all that. I just go to the Bible and say, what does it say about whatever we're thinking about,
Right. So what did you find? Why don't you share that with everybody?
Well, First, first of all, there are groups that don't believe in voting, and that's I don't, I never talked to any of them to see how they get to that point, but there are those like that, and of course, I'm going to talk about voting in the United States only. Now, voting other countries get you killed, if you don't vote right.
Yeah.
And but we have a voice, and we have that voice in voting, and in another statement I've always heard: Christians should not vote because it's not in the Bible, but it is in the Bible, and that's what I found. I thought, oh, look, it is there, and I've been told and believing all along, it wasn't there, and we need to be honest in our Bible study, and we need to be straightforward and not listen to old wives' tales or old sayings or what people thought it would say. It doesn't say what we think it does a lot of times, and we need to go and research that and look at it and see. And it's not hard to do with the internet the way it is today. You can find anything. So it's easier, much easier to research a Bible. But it's amazing to me that someone can sit and watch 9 hours of football on a weekend and can't spend 20 minutes in the Bible.
Amen.
And the reason is it's so burdensome for them to study the Bible because they don't know what they're doing, first of all, don't understand it. Plus, their heart's not there. Their heart's in football or whatever they're doing, and or their hobbies or cooking or whatever, So people's hearts are not putting God first. And I hear people say, we want to put God's first, but then they're not doing it. And I don't think they see it, what that really means. But the majority of people around here and everyone not putting God first. If you did, you would get in the Bible, you'd understand it. The more you read, the more you understand. Or get teachers that can teach you the understanding of it. And I enjoy it. I now teach a class on Wednesday night, and I teach a Sunday school class on Sunday morning. And I like to come up with things that I think most people don't know about, don't know of. And I enjoy doing that. And there's plenty of it. You don't run out. But anyway, I started out in Deuteronomy 16. Now, Deuteronomy was written about 60 days before Israel entered the Canaan land of promise there, And it says after they got into Canaan, they began to set up cities and began to govern themselves so they would have just government. And in Deuteronomy 16, 18, it says, that's really important, that word you are to put in place judges and officers for yourself and all your gates. Of course, back then, they didn't have a courthouse. They met at the gate. They would sit in the gate and judge. That the Lord your God gives you according to your tribes, and they are to judge the people with righteous judgment. That word you means they picked those people. They weren't just appointed, they picked them. So, yes, that's an election. That's what that is. But that's what voting is all about there. And God originally set up government. He set it up in the Old Testament, and he did in the New Testament, and he told us we are to obey our government, that he has a part in setting up. And you can fast forward now to a Christian church. And we choose our leaders in church. Now, just say a pastor retires and another pastor comes in and people don't like him. They'll vote for him either two ways. They will leave or they'll vote with their pocketbook.
Oh, yeah.
So that's voting. That's what that is. And just like I was reading in Acts 6:1, in the early church, they said the number of disciples were multiplying, and they had an argument over Hebrews because their widows were neglected in daily distribution of food. So I thought, well, that was an early church, and they had discrimination and prejudice then in the early church.
Oh, yeah.
They had it just like we do today.
It started early.
And verse 3 in chapter 6, verse 3, therefore, brothers, pick out from among you 7 men of good reputation, full of the Spirit wisdom. They were to pick them out. Nobody appointed them and said, this is the way it's going to be. He said, the church, you pick them out. And it went on to name all the names that they chose. They chose Stephen, you remember that name very well, and Philip, and so on. So who did the election?
Yeah.
They did.
And I never really thought about that until you wrote that. I thought, you know what, that's right.
And this continues on in church leadership today. We have elections. We have, they vote on things. And because the first church did, and I do not see anything irreligious about that or wrong. So did Christians vote and participate in elections? Yes, they did. But I have heard it said Christians should not run for an office, and that's incorrect too. And in the Bible, in Romans 16:23, there was a man named Erastus. He was a city treasurer in Rome. Now he was, luckily his name was included in the Bible. They could have left him out, but fortunately they did, because Erastus was what they called an aedile. Aedile is a Greek word for it. And he was an elected official in Rome. Aediles were. And they held an office that hoped they could climb the ladder of public offices up into become a consul. But they were elected. And here was this man taking part in a Christian church, and he was elected. They didn't cast him out or anything. They didn't consider it wrong, anything like that. So, and in 1 Timothy 2:1 and 2, it tells to urge us to pray for all petitions of prayer, intercession, thanksgiving, to made by all people for kings and all who are in authority, so we can lead a peaceful life. So not only can we pray, we can take part. If you are a godly person and you want to take part in it, God wants godly people in office. And, that's why he said he wants us to obey and follow the rules, those that are elected. And I had an example in an article I wrote about driving along the highway, and I met an old man that had a flat tire. And so what should I do? Sit in the car and pray that he could have the ability to repair that tire, or should I go help him do it? So we should pray and take action both.
Exactly.
It's sort of silly to sit there. Oh, I'm just gonna go on down the road and pray that he will have the strength. That's sometimes in our short thinking why we don't see why God doesn't answer our prayers, because we're asking wrong. We should take action, and taking action is taking part in leadership with godly people. If we're godly people, I wish all our leaders were godly people.
I do too. Yeah.
I mean, that's what my goal would be anyway.
Well, we're supposed to pray for them too.
Right.
Pray that God will, because God can redeem anybody, y'all. So that's my prayer.
Some of the objections I also hear is that first one I've heard the most of, we shouldn't get involved in government. But there's no scripture in the Bible that tells us that. It's just one of our thoughts that we've come up with.
If I'm not mistaken, the Lipscomb, the man who started David Lipscomb, was that type of person. It seems, because I was there, I was on staff there briefly, but I went to school there. But it seems to me like I remember that at some point. Now I may be wrong, but I think I'm remembering that Lipscomb, and I forget his name completely, but I think he was one of those people that advised against it, if I'm not mistaken. So you do have people that are prominent.
All you have to go to the internet and ask the internet, and it'll tell you.
There's a lot of prominent,
I don't want to mention
spiritual leaders that have said you shouldn't, but I'm with you. I'm absolutely.
Everything's got to be based on the Bible. I know some people think I'm a little nutty like that. Why do you go? And
Are you kidding me? That's what we've been called to.
An attorney sort of jumped on me for that. He said, "Oh, you just talk about it all the time, based on the Bible." I said, everything is there. You
better believe it was. The foundation of our government was based on the Bible. Right. And if people who don't understand that, they just have not studied it. That's one of the things. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about some things I've learned recently. And, you were talking about how easy it is to study the Bible now. And we had that conversation saying, my father, he and I would debate. My mother would say, y'all quit fighting. We would just debate. We loved to discuss scripture. And he was limited in his knowledge by what he had in his library. Well, that's not the case anymore.
Right.
I'm not limited by the books that are on my
I think
shelf.
about that all the time. I
Yeah.
got a lot of books, but nothing compared to the
No.
internet.
And so, and I had Jason Ball up at Cedar Point Church. He was the first one I heard talk about the knowledge doubling curve. And I talk about this, and he talks about it kind of in a despairing way that it scares him that kids have access to so much. But from a ministry perspective, I think it's profound and wonderful because it opens up the world to us of what we can study. And the knowledge doubling curve states that prior to 1900, if you had an idea, if you invented something, it would take 100 years for it to circle the globe. Nowadays, the speculation is, and it increased, and got to where it was done more quickly as the technology age came on. But now it's said it's about 12 hours.
I've read that thought, yeah.
If you were to
That's
discover something that's profound, it could cover the globe within 12 hours, and that's just profound. And so we're no longer limited by what's in our library or what's in our church library or our friends' libraries. But you have to make sure it's authentic. You can't just go, oh, they said. You will find justification for anything you want to justify. But then you've got to decide, well, is it true? And then you've got to verify
One thing
it.
I found lately that sort of scares me is AI, artificial
Oh, yeah, it's a
intelligence.
trip.
Now, you can go on the internet and ask it anything, and man, it pops right back with an answer. But that answer may not be right.
You better believe it.
And I was looking for something this weekend on my Sunday school lesson, and AI gave me 3 different things that weren't correct.
Yeah.
All 3 of them weren't, but they were all opposite. It was like the year something started I was looking for. And I thought, whoa, this stuff it sounds real good at first. They got all the answers to everything, but then they'll tell you stuff that's not correct. So you have to be real careful.
You have to be super careful with it. You got to, let it launch your ideas. That's what I tell my kiddos. AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
It is, right.
Use it as a launching pad, but boy, you better check it and verify it. And it can help inspire. It can help give you ideas and give you fresh ideas and things like that. But you better make sure it's accurate.
It's a big booger to deal with.
Yes,
You
it
gotta
is.
look at it. And I've been criticized before of questioning things in the Bible or beliefs that's long held. And I said, well, I want to question it, and I want to study it and research it. And they say, oh, that's a sin. The question. No, it's not.
Question
But
with
then I've been
words. Of course,
jumped
that wasn't
on
out of the Bible, but
pretty hard about that. And I would suggest an idea, come up with an idea. What about this? Oh, no. Well, let's go back to the Word and check it out, and then they get mad. Back to the other thing, I was looking, I thought, well, it probably says one place in the Bible I know to submit to the government. And then I found 5 or 6 places in the New Testament that says we just submit to the government. And I thought, okay, what if we had bad government? No, back in the old days in the king, they just killed them.
right.
But we don't do that today. But you can get them out of office, not elect them again.
Yeah.
But also, the Bible says not get entangled in this world. Well, people get entangled in sports. They get entangled in hobbies. They get entangled in so much stuff. And getting involved in politics is not being entangled. You have to put God's word first, then the politics, what you're getting into. But what I'm seeing today, people are so in much hatred right now. Because there's all kinds of misinformation and hateful stuff put out there in the news. And we can't trust the news anymore, TV, papers, or anything, because they're telling stuff that's not right. And when we are doing that kind of stuff and getting on Facebook and saying, oh, this guy's terrible because he does this, this, and this, that's being entangled. That's what that means. Going and, studying out the issues, and I have basic issues like, I want the freedom of speech. I want the freedom of religion. I want the freedom to own my own gun. And those things are important to me. Now, if anybody is not along that line, I just X them out right off right at the beginning. But we got to have issues instead of personality attacks, or something, And also, people I see things in politics where they'll go back 30 years. Well, you said so-and-so 30 years ago. Well, he doesn't believe that way now, or he or she. You got to discount that, People can change, and you have to accept that people do change. If they didn't change, I question them. We all change, and you have to. Your understanding changes as we study more. And I know a lot of old-timey preachers and people get afraid of new ideas because, it's coming upon us, just like the internet or AI or anything. But the information is there for them too. The more understanding of the Bible is more than it's ever been before. It's just flooded with new things. It is for me anyway. I learn something new every week, and it's because I think end times are getting closer today than it was yesterday.
Sure.
So all this new stuff, we have to educate ourselves and study it instead of saying, "Oh, I'm just going to watch football and that's all I'm going to do." You're missing out because all this stuff is so good. And it's like a preacher said Sunday in my church. He said, "Don't come to the door at the end of the service and say, 'That was a good sermon, preacher.' He said, 'Oh, I want you to come to me and say, I see how God is more effective in me now. I see how God is more wonderful. Not about my preaching, but about what I've projected to you, what God is all about.'"
That's a good thought.
And that makes a
Really
lot of
does.
sense. So I told him when he got there, I said, "That was really good. I'd like to have your notes."
See, I've asked preachers for their notes too, because I'm like, where did you find
I
it?
don't mind giving them mine.
Yeah. And what Bill's saying about the new things, people say, the Bible hasn't changed. Well, no, it hasn't changed, but our understanding of it has, because again, we are not limited by only the books on our bookshelf. We are able to go and study it from a middle. I keep going back to this, studying it through a Middle Eastern perspective. Jesus through Middle Eastern eyes, Paul through Middle Eastern eyes by Dr. Kenneth Bailey. If you haven't discovered those works, oh man, they'll blow your mind. But he's long dead and gone. But his work, he lived in the Middle East for 40 years, and just an amazing author that just started a lot of, I think, this understanding from a Middle Eastern perspective of this is what it meant when they wrote it. And it changes everything. It's not that we're trying to bring new things to the Bible. We're understanding it in a new light, in a way. And you're right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been corresponding with a guy for the last few years, Bill Siegel in Jerusalem. He teaches Hebrew.
Oh, cool.
And I thought, I met him here about a month ago in Nashville. He was over there, so I went over to see him. And I said, "Let me ask you a question. Why do you need to teach Hebrew in Israel?" That's what they speak. He said, "Well, there's so many incoming. They're coming from all over the world to Israel, and they don't speak Hebrew."
Right. I would love to learn Hebrew.
And he's really interesting to me. I don't know, he must be my age or something, but he's really good at what he does. But what I'd always done, I missed him for a while because when the war started, I didn't hear from him anymore.
Right.
I wondered,
How is
did
he
he get
doing?
killed or what?
Yeah.
But he just said, "I left over there."
Yeah.
I'm not staying over there in the middle of that.
Yeah.
But, learn, everybody can't learn Hebrew and Greek. But believe it or not, there's enough information on the internet that you can read it and get the correct wording and all that. And
you can see that some of the things that we've understood things to say are not accurate. I mean, that's just all there is to it. We have translated some things, and they're just simply not accurate.
You got to have the stamina to stand up and say, "Okay, I'm wrong."
Yeah, and we've got to get this stuff accurate, because the world needs to know. And when there's things, and this is from my childhood, I would read things. I was like, "Well, that doesn't make sense." Well, the reason it doesn't make sense is because it wasn't translated properly.
Right.
And it's like, once I get down to understanding what the translations really meant to say, then it all makes sense. There's nothing confusing about it. Now, that's not to say that there's not things I'm still, struggling, that I'm still, I'll never completely, I got it down, I'm good, till the day I take my last breath. I'm going to be digging, and I'm going to be finding things going, just go through Isaiah. Wow. I mean, to get to the prophets, you can go spend a lifetime in the prophets. But
laugh at me at Sunday school class, because instead of reading 4 or 5 verses at one time, I read one verse and I go to the words.
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
And it takes a while to do that, but then it opens everything up.
Yeah, it does.
And let's just, politics is messy. It's manipulative. It makes people liars. Why is that? Because the devil wants his administration in there.
Mm-hmm.
I know people, oh, you're crazy talking about the devil. But that's who the God of this world is. It says in 1 Corinthians. He's the God of this world. He wants his plan put in there. So what does he do? He lies, he cheats, he steals. The word Satan means slanderer. He slanders people and gets other people to do the same thing. So the average person out here hearing all this stuff on Facebook, on the internet, on television, I'm going, well, is this this bad? I didn't know that. And you get wrapped up in the affairs of the world. It said,
Can't imagine. God bless all those that are in politics. I dipped my toe in the water, and that was enough to see I don't want any part of it, but I'm still going to vote. Christians should vote. That's the crust of the message. We've got just a few minutes here. Go ahead and wrap up your thoughts there.
I think the last thing I'd want to mention is people say our vote doesn't count. Which is like saying when you pray, it doesn't count. It does. All the stuff going on in Israel, I pray for Israel. It may not stop the world, but it may save somebody's life along the way. There's two things I think that we don't see clearly, and one is giving and one is prayer. We a lot of times don't see the end work of that because it happens away from us, but the word says do it, and the word says it works. And I look back, we talked about last Wednesday night about the angel that kept, Daniel prayed, and it said the angel
was delayed. That
was with the answer was delayed 21 days by a demon. So, those things, that's a spiritual activity going on above us, a warfare, and we just don't see it. But that doesn't mean it's not true.
The battle's not against flesh and blood, y'all. Come on.
So, thank you.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to see you. I appreciate your article.
Last time I saw you, knee trouble. Your knee was your second knee was being replaced.
Yeah. When you're getting your second one done?
Well, I've got a shoulder schedule next month, and
I'm getting my shoulder done right before the end of the year too, because I've got you got a torn rotator cuff. We're just falling apart, Bill.
Pretty messed up. I've had it done before. I got to do it again.
Yeah, I got to get that done too.
This time there's no pain.
That's
the knee pain is.
The knee replacement. It's no joke, guys. But man, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely worth it for sure. Well, I'm glad you're doing well. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to
and
see you.
We'll get you back in here soon. But that was a great article and very timely. And how can they get in touch with you if they want this article about?
I love mailing out. I mail out stuff all the time.
I have it. I can send it to you too. So tell them your email.
wjones@bellsouth.net.
wjones@bellsouth.net. Shoot him an email, and he'll send you this article.
I send out articles all the time.
Yes, he does.
Difficult scriptures explained. In fact, the last one I sent out the other day, a guy emailed me back. He said, that is the first time that it makes sense to me. It all fits together. And I said, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's good. I appreciate what you're doing. And I'm like you. I wish I'd gotten on this a long time ago, years ago. But anyway, thank you so much for being a part of it. Appreciate Bill Jones and wjones@bellsouth.net if you would like to get his emails. And he also sends out weather updates too. The Robertson County weather, that's this gentleman right here.
That's me.
So I was telling somebody what you had said about the weather. One time we had some storms coming in, and we were at a ball game or something. And they said, well, right here on Robertson County weather, it says, I'm like, well, that's who I just talked to. And they were telling me, I was like, I just talked to him. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you.
I am on there.
Isn't that funny?
I don't want to let anybody know that I'm doing that.
But anyway, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for joining us. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless. Have a wonderful day. Stay with us. This is